Brilliant. Thank you, Elijah. Well read. Now, if there are any young people in church this morning who'd like to come and have a beanbag down the front, you can come on down now and you can sit down here. So if you want to come down, come on down. Any children coming down? Come on. Come on down. Yeah. Come on down. You can sit anywhere around here. First come, first served. Come on down. Any more? And Paula will be bringing around a sheet. Don't write anything on the sheet yet that's coming round. You'll need that in a little while. Come and have a seat. Okay. Now, in addition to the young ones that are at the front, I need some teenagers or some older young people. And I know there are one or two down here, and there are one or two down there. So you're going to help me with something in a little while as well. Hello, you've got lovely slippers on. Do you want to sit there? We sit here. You could sit there. And brilliant. Thanks, Elijah. You can have a sit, or you can have a beanbag if you want. A beanbag. You okay with that? Okay, that's cool. Cool. And I've now got a pocket full of money for everybody who's sitting down the front. Oh, some more people are coming up suddenly. I was going to dish out chocolate, but I thought chocolate, that's not very healthy, is it? And maybe you've given up chocolate for Lent. I don't give up anything for Lent. Do you give up anything for Lent? I do extra things for Lent. I read my Bible more. So come and have a seat. Good. Thanks, Daniel. Right. It's not real money, it's Monopoly money. Monopoly money is so useful. You can't spend it anywhere unless you're playing Monopoly. But I don't know if you were listening when Elijah was reading from Matthew chapter 20, but it was about some workers in a vineyard. And in the Bible, the vineyard is like a picture of God's kingdom, of in the Old Testament, Israel, or of the church. And the owner of the vineyard was God, and the labourers in the vineyard, well, they are you. You are the labourers in the vineyard, okay? Now, we are going to, I think everybody can get around here. I am going to set some of you off, going down to the back, along the back, up here, and back to here, okay? And then again, right? So, you, and you, if you stand up. There's money involved, okay? I don't ask you to do anything for free, okay? There's good money. Well, there's Monopoly money. Look at that money. Look at their eyes light up. You could, if you were playing Monopoly, you could buy at least 100 hotels with that. Okay, I'd like you to just do some laps, please. But you can only walk. You can do speed walking, but you can only walk, okay? Your legs getting tired yet? No? Okay. Keep going. Okay. Okay. How many laps have they done? I've lost count already. One and a third. We'll just wait for them to do another lap. Do you think they've earned some money? No. We live in a society where we're all entitled to everything, aren't we? It's about rights and what we're entitled to. You are doing so well. Keep going. Okay. You can run if you want. No, they've got to that age where they don't run. Okay, you two and you, hello, do you want to go and do a walk around church? I know, and you've got little legs, but you go and have a little walk around church. Okay. You got it. Okay, keep going. So you are doing so well. Shall we give them a round of applause? Because they are doing so well, aren't they? Anybody think they'd rehearse this? Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Now, you've got such an easy job, haven't you? You don't have to do anything, you guys. Let's just see. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, you guys, you can go around the church and you can do a lap. Go on. How many laps have you done?
5,000.
5,000. That is a lot. Do another one just to make sure. Oh, you're running now. She's got a stride. Okay. You can stop. You can have a rest. Okay. What did you say in that Bible reading? The workers who were hired about 5 PM came and received a denarius. They were hired just before the end of the working day, 6 o'clock. So, okay, come on. Have a seat. So, who started last? Was it you three? You started last. So, how much shall I give these who started first? Because they've worked so hard. Shall I give them 100? Yeah. Okay. Do you know? I'm not going to. I'm going to give you 100. You 100. Don't spend it all at once. You 100. Okay. Who started second? Because you're going to get more, aren't you? Because you started second. I've got some 500s, I think, here. Did you start second? Did they? Did you? You did, do you? Okay. So what I'm going to... there's 100. There's 100. 400. You want 400? 500, because you did the extra laps. Oh, I'm afraid that's all you're getting. There you go. She knows her rights, doesn't she? Employment law and everything going on here. And, you guys. How many laps did you do? I'm just kidding. Oh, you've been to an all-aid service before, haven't you? There's 100. There's 100. There's 100. You all get 100. Now, do you think that's unfair? It sounds a bit crazy, doesn't it? You're all getting the same amount, even though you did the most work, and then the next people, and then the people who just did one lap, but you're all getting 100. But in that parable that Jesus was telling, that's what happens. And the owner of the vineyard, who is God, gives everybody who's worked in the vineyard, everybody who has worked in God's vineyard, who's worked for him, all Christians, the same amount. So it doesn't matter if you've been a Christian for 2 million years or you've been a Christian for 5 seconds. We all get paradise. We all get God's riches. And we all get to be friends with God. And that's a bit crazy by, out there in the world. That's not how it works. But that is what the Bible... Now, can anybody remember what the word was? Well, I'll come to the adults. Come back to you in a minute. What was the word? Begins with a G. Grace. That's grace. That is God's grace. He gives us all everything that we want. And he even towards the end of the day, did you notice in the reading, towards the end of the day, he was still employing people, taking people on, because he knew that everybody needs that 1 denarius, that day's wages. Every family needs a day's pay. Isn't God good to give us everything that we need? To give us everything that we need, and he still does that. Okay, right. Could you, actually, before you go anywhere, that's all I really want to say about that for now. But in some of the groups around church, we've been thinking about a way to explain the gospel. And just after that reading in Matthew 20 that Elijah just read, it says, Jesus was going up to Jerusalem. On the way, he took the 12 aside and said to them, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man, that's Jesus, will be delivered over to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will condemn him to death, and they will hand him over to the Gentiles, the Romans, to be mocked and flogged and crucified. And on the third day, he will rise again to life. And we can only know God's grace because Jesus is alive, and he died for us, and he's alive. So do you want to just get where you can see this this board? Because you are going to be drawing this yourself in a minute. And so are you. Okay? So have a look at this. This is a way to explain the gospel, the Christian gospel. Because if somebody at school or somebody, or maybe on your sports team or a neighbour, a friend asked you, so what's this Christianity about? Would you know how to explain it? Here's a diagram to help you to explain it. And it's called the 3 circles diagram. So there's one circle, here's another circle, and here's another circle. So you just draw 3 circles like that, okay? And you start with this circle. So you need just a piece of paper, which you'll have when you go back to your places in a minute, and start with this circle. And you can say that, have you noticed how there's a lot of badness in the world and life isn't perfect? You don't have to say the exact same words, but something like this. And there's a war going on in Ukraine right now. And people get ill, people get sick, and sometimes even the nicest people like you do bad things. So there's a lot of brokenness in the world. So we can put a kind of a squiggly line. There's a lot of brokenness in the world. You could even write over the top, brokenness. So in the world, there's a lot of brokenness. But, and this is where we come to this circle, even in a world where there's a lot of brokenness and a lot of things that are wrong, we see love, don't we? And we see niceness. Is niceness a word? Or is it? Yeah. And we see good things as well, even in the brokenness. So we see signs of God's. I'm going to do a heart shape there. We see signs of God's design. God's design. Because God designed the world, he planned the world, that it would be perfect. And there's no brokenness, and everything would be brilliant. And everything would be love and perfect. So how did the world get from that to that? Somehow, we did that. How did we do that? Well, it's because we human beings turned our backs on God. And let me just do this. I'm hopeless at drawing figures here, but yes, feet don't go backwards normally. There's a person going from there to there. And that's what the Bible begins with an S. It's a little 3-letter word. Sin. Yeah, sin. So we turned our backs on God, and that caused all the problem of a broken world, and all the bad stuff in the world is because we turned our backs on God and his word. So this is where we are, and we try to kind of make sense of this, or make things better, or just maybe even get right with God by doing things. But none of the things that we do get us back to here. In fact, like, those bungee ropes. Have you ever been bungee jumping? No? Anybody been bungee jumping? Daniel has. It looks very dangerous to me. But they kind of snap you back, don't they? You kind of go back up again. So what they do ultimately, all these things that we try, just take us back into the mess again. So we've got a problem. We can't get out of the mess. But we want, I don't know, do you want to be? A love heart. Do you want to be there with a love heart? Yeah. That's God's love, that is. God loves us so much that he's made it possible for us to go from there to over here. How does he do that? How can that be possible? He came down, arrow coming down from heaven, Jesus, and he died on the cross. I'll put a J there for Jesus. And he didn't stay dead. On the third day, on the Sunday, Easter Sunday, he rose again. And he's alive. And when he rose again from the dead, that proves that he's King Jesus. Now, he has made it possible by dying on the cross for us to be friends with God again and to enjoy him now and forever. So we can put another line in there. And in fact, we can put another line in there. And over here, let's put, this is going to go horribly wrong. Let's put, that's a person praying, kneeling down. Turn and believe. So we need to turn back to God and believe in Jesus and what he did. And when we do that, we glow in the dark. No, we don't. But we grow. We grow and we grow as Christians, and then one day we'll be in paradise in heaven with Jesus. So this down here is the gospel. So we've got brokenness, but because of the gospel, we can be restored into the kind of people that God wants us to be. In the Lord's Prayer it says, "Hallowed be your name, your kingdom come on earth as in heaven." And so we can be part of God's kingdom coming into earth. And one day, everything will be perfect. So that's a way of explaining the gospel to a friend. Could you do that? Do you think you could do that? You remembered all that? Could you do most of it? Because it doesn't matter if you forget some of it. It doesn't matter if you miss a bit out. Because when you're talking to somebody, the diagram will remind you. And when you're talking to people about this, they'll say, well, why? So who is this? Who's Jesus? And they'll ask questions. So you could ask people, on this diagram, where are you? Where are you today? Are you over here? Are you there somewhere? Or are you over here? So ask them that. And then you could ask them, where do you want to be? So if they say, well, I'm here, I'm in the mess. Well, would you rather be here? And most people actually say yes. Or maybe people say, well, I'm right there at the foot of the cross. And you could say to them, well, what's stopping you going further? Okay? Right, got that? I'm going to leave that there. You go back to whoever brought you. Go. You leave the money, because if I lose the Monopoly money, Becky will be wanting to know where it is. Thank you. Now, Paula, has everybody got a sheet? Has every person, individual, adult, thank you, family got a sheet? On the sheet, thank you very much, you've got that diagram, and you've also got a space below it So you can fold your sheet in half. And what I'd like you to do is, either on your own or with somebody else, draw the diagram and explain it to them. See how you go. If you need to look at my diagram up the front or the diagram on your sheet, if you're near somebody in a pew, just slide along the pew and you can explain it to somebody else. See if you can do the diagram without looking too much at my drawing. And if you're working with somebody, talk them through it. Wow, some people looking really serious about this. They're really getting into it. Oh no, that's not that. The arrow needs to go in the opposite direction. Okay, brilliant. Leave it there. So that's just a simple kind of way of explaining the gospel. And to do a diagram while you're talking just triggers things and reminds you of what you're talking about. So if you find that helpful, use it. You can take that away with you. Have another go, practice it later. And if you put in 3 circles gospel into Google or some other search engine, there's lots of videos and lots of resources online to remind you, and they'll talk you through it. 3 circles gospel or 3 circles gospel presentation, and you can see how other people do it around the world.